Hi everyone, Aiden here with etrailer. And today we're going to be taking a look at and later be showing you how to install this Curt Four-Pole Wiring Harness on our 2025 Buick Enclave. Now if you're towing a small trailer with your Enclave, you're going to need some vehicle wiring. That's going to help transfer those lighting signals like your brake lights, turn signals, and running lights to the back of your trailer when you're towing, keeping things legal and letting other drivers on the road know what your intentions are when you're driving down the road. But even if you're not towing, let's say you've got a bike rack or a cargo carrier, things like add-on light kits are becoming more and more common these days. And if you just want to utilize those features for a really big, bulky cargo carrier on your long road trip or a bike rack, you can do that too. Four-pole wiring is all you need to get those lighting signals transferred. Even if it's something you just want to add to future-proof, this isn't going to take up much space as it is right now. Typically what we do with these is we just take the dust cover and loop that around the safety chain loop just to keep it tucked up and out of the way, keep it from dragging. But you always could, if you wanted to, get a separate four-pole wiring bracket to secure this a bit more permanently if you were looking to just make it look a bit cleaner and not have to fight with this dust cover whenever you do want to put it back on. That wiring harness isn't going to interfere with that decorative cover panel going back in place over the hitch when it's not in use, so you can trust that the nice looks of your vehicle are going to be preserved even if you have that wiring. And probably my favorite thing about it is that it's a true plug-and-play installation. It really couldn't get much simpler than this. As far as the installation goes, there's two ways you can go about it. You can lower your exhaust and reach up and find the plug if you want to, but chances are you're like this neighbor and you're probably installing a hitch at the same time. If you're doing that, you're going to have to remove your fascia, which really isn't too bad to do on its own. And while it's off, you might as well do the wiring. It's a really, really simple plug in, run the wire, and you're good. Now, even if that's something you don't want to tackle, you can always use our dealer locator to find an installer local to you to help you get that installed. But I do think this is something you could do in your driveway with a little bit of time and some very simple tools. If you decide that this is the right wiring for you, we'd love to hear how you're liking it and what you're using it for. But for the DIYer that's looking to see a step-by-step installation guide, follow along with us and we'll get you started. We're going to start our installation at the back of the vehicle here, looking underneath our fascia to find some screws. Now these are going to be tucked under quite a bit there, and we'll remove those with a T15 Torx bit. This is going to be just the one on either side of the vehicle. There's just one of these per side. And with everything we see removing the fascia we do on one side, we will mirror on the other. Up top, we're going to have a T20 screw located on each corner. And then in our wheel well, we're going to have 4 more T15 screws. Start at the bottom and just count 4 on your way up. All those need to come out as well. Moving over to the inside of our taillight, we need to pop this little pin at the top out. Something like a forked trim panel tool will be really helpful here so you can grab around it and not damage the edges. And with that out of the way, we can remove this whole cover now. There's a few clips on the inside edge here that you can kind of pry up. And once you've got those popped, just pull straight back and out to release these 2 bottom clips. And the final thing we need to do before we remove our fascia is going to be pull this trim piece around our wheel well up. I'm not going to lie, this is probably the toughest part just because it's going to want to fight you. And there's a tab at the bottom here that points straight down. We'll see it in a second when I remove it, but that's the thing that's going to fight you pretty much the whole way. So what you can do is just try to pull this back, wedge this down in as best you can, and pull out. Now, if you've never removed fascia before, or even if you have, this is probably going to feel like you're bending it way too much, but it's going to be okay. This is a pretty flexible piece, and it's pretty necessary to get this to flex out to the degree we need. If you can get it to pry up a little bit where this gap comes in, you can kind of see what I'm talking about there. I'm hoping, though, I can give it a little bit more pressure. With that little bit of extra pressure, oh, we can separate that piece. Now there's a better look at it, what I was talking about. It is a big, big piece of plastic there. So you really just have to fight your way past it. Once you do, the rest of it should pop free a little bit easier. Just working our way up and across. And we want to go probably one past this seam here. Now, it's a good idea to maybe have some folded paper towels or shop towels ready so you can wedge it into this gap right here. That's going to reveal this 7mm bolt that we need to remove. And one extra thing I like to do before we start pulling that fascia off is laying some painter's tape across the seam here where the panels will be separating. More so for when we start to put this back on, because getting all these tabs and clips to line up can sometimes be a little bit tricky, and the last thing we want to do is start to nick the paint on the side of the panel because something isn't perfectly aligned. So I'm just going to go through probably just up until here and get that all covered up. To get our fascia removed, I've got Jesse on the driver's side to help me out. We're just going to start at the edges where we removed those 7mm screws and just pull straight back on the panel. These clips should start to release pretty easily, honestly. We can work our way towards the center. And as we get to the middle, it might start to get a little bit stickier, but should just be able to pull straight out. And there will be a connector on the driver's side. That connector can be removed just by pushing back that red locking tab, pushing down on the connector here and pulling it away. And we can set this fascia somewhere safe. With our fascia removed, we're going to come over here to this plug on the driver's side. Now, this isn't to be confused with the plug just above it that we undid during our fascia removal. This one is located just below that. We're going to pull out the red locking tab. And you can always push on that connector or that tab with something like a screwdriver. And then we can press down and pull that out. Now this is just a dummy plug. It can be removed, set aside. It's not going to get reused because our new wiring is going to plug directly into that. Just making sure we line up the locking tab on the correct side right here and pushing it together till it clicks. Just like that. Using the provided zip ties in the kit though, I routed the wiring straight up to this other harness that's already present on our vehicle, securing it frequently so it didn't sag. And, you know, some hitches have a bracket where you can add a separate 4-pole mounting bracket and secure your wiring to that. Our neighbor today didn't opt to get one of those, and their hitch doesn't include one of those brackets, so we're just going to use the provided dust cover, loop it over the wiring, and just secure it to the safety chain loop on the side of the hitch right here. That way it's ready to go when we need it and up out of the way when we don't. With everything plugged in and connected, it's a good idea to test all of our functions. So we'll start with our running lights. We'll do our brake lights, our left turn, and our right turn. And with everything tested and verified that it's working, we can go ahead and put our vehicle back together. If you did what we did and installed the wiring at the same time as your hitch, the fascia off made this a lot easier. Just got to reinstall it in the reverse order that we removed it. But that'll do it for a look at this Curt plug-in wiring harness on our 2025 Buick Enclave. My name's Aiden, and thanks for watching.